Hello and welcome back to Guided Souls. I'm your host, Katie, and I'm so excited to be back here for another week with you guys. If you prefer to watch instead of listen, you can head on over to my YouTube channel at Guided Soul Crystals, and you can also catch me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Guided Soul Crystals, and I will link that below in the show notes. I just started on Instagram and Facebook, so for those people who have been doing all of the social media things for all the time, kudos to you. It's a lot, but I'm also having a lot of fun with it. So if you want a free way to support me, you can go follow me on all the things. But we will go ahead and dive in to today's episode. I am really excited and also a little bit nervous to talk about today's topic. And I kind of have to explain the topic as we go along. I mean, you'll be able to read it in the title and in the show notes, but it's kind of one that it's like a channeled message. So I kind of have to explain it as I go along, because if I just say what the topic is, you're not going to know what it is. The day that this is airing also happens to be my dad's birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. I know that I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for him, both while he was here on earth, but especially after he's been gone. He has been such a guiding light for me, especially in this past year, as I have sort of, dove into the deep end in terms of really just following my dreams and my intuition and living the life that I have always dreamed of dreaming. He has been like my lighthouse. Whew, I'm about to get emotional. He's been my lighthouse in what sometimes feels like a sea of darkness. So I'm so grateful to him. And it also kind of just made me reflect on this a little bit last night, that, as devastated as I am that he is gone, and I so wish he was here to experience this with me on earth, I'm also very aware that he has been such a guiding light for me that, there's a high likelihood I would not have so many of the things that I have, and I would not be on the path that I'm on if he wasn't on the other side guiding me. And I for sure would not be the person I am today, sitting here making this podcast, if it wasn't for some of the really heavy stuff that I had to go through in terms of having a parent with Alzheimer's at such a young age and ultimately losing that parent to Alzheimer's. It was a lot of darkness, but I grew in such a way that has allowed me to be exactly who I am today. And so while it is really painful and it hurts, and I wish he was still here, I'm also really grateful for the person that it has made me and for the guiding light that my dad has been for me on the other side. It's definitely not a coincidence that this is coming out on his birthday. I absolutely believe that this is divinely orchestrated from him, and in a lot of ways, a channeled message from multiple different sources on my team of light, but especially my dad. So to give you guys a little bit of backstory before I dive into the topic for today, I have been moving away from one-on-one readings for a while now. And you may remember, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, that there was an episode where I just kind of, accepted that for some reason I am meant to be a content creator and not necessarily a medium who meets with people and gives one-on-one readings, which is really confusing. And a lot of times I feel guilty or selfish about it for a number of reasons. One, it's like I have this beautiful gift that can help people and that people clearly want. Why am I not able to share it with people, or why am I not meant to share it with people on a one-on-one level? It also feels selfish in a way because, if I'm being completely honest, that was a source of income for me. It may not, have been totally steady all the time, but it was something. And so to have this thing that I know that I'm good at and that people want and can bring my household money, and I'm actively choosing not to do it, does feel selfish in a lot of different ways. And so I've been struggling with that a little bit more, and especially as I'm, launching this crystal business that I'm so excited about. And I do have orders coming in, and thank you to everyone who has ordered a crystal, and it's continuing to grow. And I love that. At the same time, a part of me is like, well, maybe I could just, offer private readings on the side while I'm launching this crystal business. And then there wouldn't be, all this pressure financially, and I could kind of float and do both and just allow things to unfold naturally. But I sat with that idea for less than 24 hours and just had this like repulsive feeling towards it. And I hope that no one, who has gotten a private reading from me sees that as I didn't want to give you a private reading, because I absolutely did. But it was just my body's way of telling me, hey, for some reason that is unknown to your human brain right now, this is not the path that you are meant to go down. And I sat with it for a little bit because I was like, okay, is this a fear that I need to overcome, or is this an energetic no? And from where I'm standing right now, it does feel like it is an energetic no to give one-on-one readings. So I decided, I might do the random giveaway here or there. I'm still going to be posting readings on social media, but for some reason, unknown to me, I'm not meant to give one-on-one readings to people. And I have even more so been feeling a bit of a tug away from past loved one readings, even on social media. And I'm not saying that I am stopping those. I know that those bring people a lot of comfort and joy, and I want to be able to provide that to people, but it's not the only thing that's on my heart. There are other things that I want to share and that I want to give, but that feels scary because if I'm being totally honest, up until this point in time, in terms of my social media journey and my spiritual journey and like putting things out there for the world to see, maybe outside of this podcast, the one thing that people really seem to love and want from me with beyond a shadow of a doubt is past loved one readings. Like that's what everybody wants. And I have tried to go down some different avenues, and they have not worked, and they have not necessarily been received with the same open arms that my past loved one readings have. Now, I think that was for a reason. I think, the other things that I tried were not necessarily for me. It wasn't the lane that I was meant to go down, but that has given me hesitation now in this moment where I'm being called to go down a different lane. And I'm like, yeah, but people don't want to see me do anything different. People want to see me do this. And shouldn't I just give the people what they want? But I was listening to a different podcast earlier this week, and I'm not entirely sure what episode it was, but if you haven't listened to The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes, I think it's his name, it's an awesome podcast, and it does kind of vary depending on the guest, but some of the guests that he has on there are incredible, and he's really great at interviewing people. So I was listening to his podcast, and one of his guests said, "What got me here won't get me there." And I'm sure that's a quote from somebody else, but it just like stuck in my head of, well, what got me here was my intuition. Yes. It was me facing my fears, following my path. Yes. But it was also me taking cues from the external world as to what they wanted me to do and what they wanted to see. Particularly when it came to the spiritual work that I was putting out there on social media. I have very much tailored what I'm doing to the reactions that I have gotten from the external world. And that is no longer going to work if I want to get to someplace else, get to that, quote unquote, next level, whatever you want to call it. I can't keep doing the same thing that got me here. And I know that that's the definition of insanity or something like that. It's, to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. And so it's time now for me to continue to follow my intuition, continue to, follow the path that I feel called to go down, but to disregard what other people want from me and what other people are seeking from me, which as a people pleaser is so hard. I'm like, why can't I just give the people what they want? But I know that I know what my path is and what my path is meant to be more than anyone else. And particularly, with love, I say this with love, I know what is best for me, especially over people who don't know me, who just, see me through a screen or through social media. And so if this is where I'm being called, I have to trust that it is not only for my benefit, it is for the greater good of all. And that this other thing that I'm feeling called to go towards is ultimately going to serve humanity to my highest ability. And I ultimately have to give from my heart, regardless of what others are seeking from me. Because I have no idea. This wasn't even in my head until this moment, but I feel like my dad just popped into my head the song, I think it's by The Who, maybe the Rolling Stones. Oof, he would want me to know this. I feel like it's The Who, but it's, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you get what you need. And it's like, maybe I'm not giving the people what they want, but I'm going to give the people what they need. Okay, he just prompted me to look it up. It's You Can't Always Get What You Want by the Rolling Stones. So sorry, got that wrong. It was not The Who. My dad was really big into classic rock, if you don't know. So he definitely wanted me to make sure I got that one right. So where I have been being called to as of late, as you could probably gather if you have been sort of picking up on clues from previous podcast episodes, is my connection to Mother Earth and nature. And it's why it makes so much sense that I launched this crystal business and why I feel so passionate about crystals. It all goes hand in hand. But I felt like there was an additional piece to that, like some sort of way of being or some sort of term for the type of life that I was living in connection to Mother Nature and Mother Earth that I was meant to share with others. And so there have been a couple different terms that have kind of been floating through my brain that haven't felt exactly right. The term Earth Angel has come up a lot in my mind, but there's something, at least for me and what I'm feeling, that feels a little bit too otherworldly. Like an Earth Angel is someone who's not necessarily, in my opinion, is not necessarily of the earth. They are like a soul from someplace else that has been placed on Earth. And for me, what I'm feeling is like such a deep connection with the earth that felt just too otherworldly, too not of this earth. I also identify with being a witch, which I haven't necessarily talked about on here. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And it's very much just felt like something that I wanted to explore inwardly. But, there are lots of different types of witches, and there's a type of witch called the green witch, sometimes also called an earth witch. And I do resonate with a lot of qualities and practices that green or earth witches practice in. And I prefer the term earth witch, but you can kind of think of them as synonymous. So earlier this week, my mom sent me an email. Love you, Mom, if you're listening. She forwarded me an email, an article about like a green witch. And she responded at the top of it, "You're a green witch. Who knew?" And I just thought it was so sweet, but also cool that I have not talked about this anywhere, and she just read the description of what a green witch is and was able to identify that that's what I am. So I responded haha, actually I knew that, but I love that you read that and thought of me. And I'm actually thinking about doing a podcast episode on that because I did want to get this topic out there. I just didn't know in what nature or how I wanted to present it. But this has been going around in my mind as something that I do want to share. And of course, I think everything's a sign. I don't think anything's a coincidence. So for me, that was okay, this is an extra nudge in that direction to share this message. But even still, as much as I identify with being a green witch or an earth witch, there is something that still didn't feel just inherent to who I am at my soul. And it didn't feel like the exact message that I was meant to share. And I also have a notebook, and you may have seen this in some of my videos or pictures of crystals if you have looked at my website at all. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll show you guys. It's this journal that I use to write in, and there's a sticker on it that says, "Stay wild, moonchild." And I got this sticker the last time I was home. I had lunch with my beautiful sister, and after lunch we went to this cute little shop that has little cool jewelry and signs and stuff, and they definitely have, I'm sure, some crystals in there, but they had all these little fun stickers, of different tarot cards. And I was just really drawn to this sticker that said, "Stay wild, moonchild." And as I was standing there in that shop with my sister, "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles came on, which is my number one song that reminds me of my dad. I actually walked down the aisle to it at my wedding, and it's when I hear that song, I know it's a sign from my dad. So I just kind of nudged my sister and gave her a hug, and we both said, "Love you, Dad." And it was just this really beautiful moment. And so I have it on this notebook. I look at it every day, and it's really inspiring to me. So that has kind of been catching my eye as well. Again, it's all these little different seeds that have been planted. And then I was just sort of asking my guides and my ancestors and Mother Earth and my dad to sort of just bring me clarity for this intangible idea that I have been seeking. I mean, this is something that has been rolling around in my brain that I have not been able to put my finger on for the better part of 2 months now. I can go back to the date when I got this sticker and was writing in this notebook and was there's something about Mother Earth and Earth angels, but that's not quite right. This has been several months in the making of trying to uncover what this is. So I just asked, can I have some sort of clarity on this? And I remember I was kind of getting ready for the day and made sure I wasn't listening to anything. I was just allowing messages to come in. And the term Earth Child popped into my head, and it felt like this aha moment where everything clicked for me. And I'm going to explain to you what an Earth Child is and the channeled message that I received of what an Earth Child is, and some of the reasons that an Earth Child might be here. And in case it wasn't already obvious, I resonate with this deeply to my core. So it just felt like all the puzzle pieces fitting together of what I'm meant to share. So at their core, an Earth Child is someone with a deep appreciation for the human experience, all of the ups and downs, all of the joy, all of the love, all of the grief, all of the heartbreak, just an appreciation for how beautiful and precious the human experience is and how little time we actually have here. And it's someone who actually finds the process of life and death and rebirth to be very beautiful, because that is what's around us in nature all the time. The cycle of life and death is all around us in nature. And for some reason, when it comes to humans, we have this like repulsive reaction to death. But an earth child is someone who actually sees that as just like a really beautiful process and a natural thing that we all go through in order to be reborn again. And an earth child is someone who sees so much beauty in human imperfections. For someone who is like, yeah, I'm messy, I'm imperfect, I mess up, I have a temper sometimes, I cry, I'm all over the place, but I am a beautiful human. And how beautiful is it that we are these imperfect humans together and that we can love each other so deeply, not in spite of, but because of our imperfections. An earth child is someone who values all life, humans, animals, plants, trees, and of course, Mother Earth. I'm not saying that you have to be a vegetarian or vegan or anything like that to be an earth child, but for some reason this year specifically, meat just started sounding less and less appealing to me, to the point where it was like, I think I'm just going to become a vegetarian because I don't want meat at all. Like it does, there's something about having an animal, like eating an animal, that just doesn't feel right. But of course, that's not a necessity. I think it's just an interesting coincidence that I'm fully stepping into this. And then I just, happen to become a vegetarian at the same time. It is someone who can breathe with the earth and tap into her crystalline structure, someone who feels most at home out in nature and like they truly belong when they are in nature. It is someone who loves so deeply and feels so deeply and doesn't let the fear of that heartbreak hold them back from giving life their all. I think I'll put myself in this boat as well. There are some of us who have experienced such deep pain and heartbreak that we then close ourselves off to the world and we say, I can't handle anymore. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to lose someone that I'm that close to again. So we choose not to love at all. And I definitely think that was me for a time. But I'm very grateful to have gotten to the point where I'm like, losing people is really hard, but it's also a beautiful process and a part of why our souls came here and a part of what we came here to experience. So I'm going to love and feel as deeply as I can while I still have this person and cherish them. And then when they are gone, I'm going to appreciate the fact that I get to experience such deep feelings because I loved them so much. It is someone who feels deeply connected to crystals and herbs and things growing from the earth. An earth child is very grounded and grounding. They are also highly intuitive and possess some spiritual abilities. And just as a side note, I just want to put out there, if you're like, oh, that doesn't apply to me, that could apply to anyone who wants that to be true if they are open to it, whether you consider yourself or resonate with being an earth child or not. You can be highly intuitive and have spiritual abilities if you want to, and if you're open to them, that is available to everyone. But I feel like the one piece of it that was just really missing for me, both in the earth angel and the earth witch and the other type of, terms that I was coming up with, was this lack of lightheartedness and playfulness and childlike wonderment. So when the term earth child came to me, it's like that was the quality that I could not put my finger on, was someone who had a constant curiosity and a thirst for learning and wanting to understand how the world works and why things are the way that they are. Someone who is always wanting to grow and evolve. Someone who has a childlike wonderment view of the world. I go on walks with my husband and I just stop and I'm like, look at this tree. Look at how big this tree is. And we are just walking around like it's no big deal that we have these gorgeous, beautiful trees all around us. I sometimes like to pretend like I am an alien and I was just plopped down here on Earth as an adult and I'm experiencing everything for the first time. And I'm just like, wow, look at these flowers, look at these trees. This is so cool. And how do you think this rock was formed? It's that sense of, isn't this amazing? Isn't this beautiful? Why don't we stop and admire this for a moment? It's someone who wants to play and have fun and laugh and not take life so seriously. And it is someone who is genuinely in love with all aspects of life and who wants to share that life with others, or that love with others. And I think back to my incarnation cross in human design, which if you don't know what yours is, I have the My Human Design app, and I think it does a really beautiful way of explaining it. It essentially tells you like what your life theme and purpose is meant to be. And so mine is the right angle cross of Eden 2, which I know sounds very complicated, but they explain it in very easy terms. And it says there are good and bad things about this world, but you came to connect people back to the good things. You do this by focusing on the things you find positive about life, the things that light you up, because that's when they get bigger. When you give them energy, they grow. And when they grow, other people see the beauty of life in your energy, and it helps connect them to it too. Some of the things people with this life theme find positive about life is exploring the world, nature, and any kind of creative arts. Don't ever feel guilty about pursuing them. They are part of your life purpose, and even though you might not see how they will end up leading to your highest calling, they will. Do them wholeheartedly and embrace them like the treasures they are. So that has just kind of been in the back of my mind since I read that over a year ago, and it has absolutely come full circle now. Some other considerations that I've also received, maybe relevant for someone who is an earth child, is that they've likely gone through some sort of darkness early on in their life and had to fight their way back to this childlike quality about themselves and choose to be lighthearted despite the darkness in the world. And it also makes you appreciate what truly matters in life and not sweat the small stuff because you've been through so much worse. It gives you that perspective of, oh, this really isn't a big deal. I don't need to be this stressed about this. I don't need to be this bogged down. Comparatively, things are pretty good here. It's also probably someone who went through a lot of chaos so that they then know how to ground themselves and to feel stable within themselves no matter what life throws at you. Now, I don't know where this is from, but I heard someone say the definition of peace is to just know that anything can come at you and you'll be able to handle it no matter what. It's not having a peaceful life, it's knowing that the peace is within you. And for many, they are also meant to be a way shower. Part of why they're here is to be a way shower and to show this way of living to others, which I deeply resonate with this. So, maybe you are listening to this and you can't relate to everything that I've said, but it sounds exciting or inspiring and you'd like to try and embody more of that type of energy. I would absolutely invite you to do so, and I would love it if you would do so. I feel like that is so much of the reason why I'm here, is to share this way of living with others. And it just so happens that now I can put a word to two words to the type of living, the type of life that I am living. So for me, all of this just made so much sense, as I discussed not only in my human design, but also I haven't discussed all of the darkness that I have faced on this podcast, but I was thrown into a parent being diagnosed with Alzheimer's when I was 19, and I watched him decline from Alzheimer's for 5 years, which was really, really hard. And, it got to the point where he didn't know that I was his daughter or my name. One of the harder things was him forgetting how to use a fork or how to open a door. Certain things like that were just really heartbreaking to see. And then, of course, losing him and experiencing such a deep level of grief at 24 really, really threw me for a loop. But I know that because of that experience, I am who I am today, and I'm able to see the world with such a different lens because of the darkness that I've experienced. I'm able to see so much more light in the everyday things that we go through because I have seen so much darkness. And I don't fully understand why or how this is going to manifest itself going forward, but I'm excited to explore it and continue to share it. So you're likely going to see me talking about it more, explaining it more, maybe giving channeled messages surrounding being an Earth child. I hope that that is something that excites you and interests you. But if it doesn't, I know that it's still my path, and that's okay. I may lose some people along the way who are only in it for the past loved one readings, and that's okay, because I know that the path that I'm going down is the one that I feel called to, which means that it is for the greater good of humanity. And as long as I am following that, I will be protected, and everything is going to end up how it was always meant to end up. So that is my channeled message on what it means to be an Earth child. And again, you may resonate with some parts of it. You may resonate with all of it. You may resonate with none of it. But if any of it sounds like something that you are inspired or excited by, and you want to, try and take on more of that into your life, I would love it if you would do that. And I'm hoping that I can share some additional ways of the Earth Child with you going forward in the future. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so, so much for being here with me. This is a very important episode to me, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to listen to me. Happy birthday to my dad again. And if you don't already, please make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Go follow me on all the things at Guided Soul Crystals. And of course, if you are in the market for any new crystals, you can go to guidedsoulcrystals.com. And until next time, keep going. You are doing amazing, and I love you.